Okay, so if we put this all back together, it was like that. Don't worry about that thing. Okay, so this is the sheep. Imagine the sheep laying on its back so its feet are up in the air. This is the ventral portion, so this is the anterior of the lungs. Okay, then if we flip it over, you flip it over, you see the difference between the two? The posterior side, or the dorsal side, is a lot smoother. Do you see it? So they say that the dorsal side, or the posterior, is pretty compared to the anterior. So this is pretty, and the other side's ugly. Okay. Now, this is how it was earlier. Okay. Just imagine, what's the area in between the two lungs? It starts with an M. Mediastinum. Good. So the mediastinum houses the pericardium, which wraps around the heart. Remember, and we couldn't see the pericardium before, but now we can. So this is a tough tissue, kind of, that wraps around the heart, and it's been kind of cut. Okay, so if we take off the pericardium, we can see the heart. And the heart will connect to somewhere there. Don't worry about it. But then we cut it off right here. And this is really nice because we can see this pulmonary trunk. Do you see that? There's a pulmonary trunk. Right? So, again, this is the anterior of the heart. And then anterior of the lungs, too. Okay, so we take the heart out. And then we have this thing that's connected down here. What is this?
Diaphragm.
Yeah, diaphragm. So the diaphragm is going to look like well done steak.
Thanks.
Do you see that? Like this. Do you see it? Okay. So if we slice that out, then we had all this connected, right? But then he separated the lungs, and you can see that the trachea is going to connect and then split off into two bronchi. Right? There's the right bronchus, left bronchus. Okay? So then we do something like this. Now, this is just to show you. It's not going to be a question, but imagine that the air is coming in through the trachea and jutting into the lungs. So right here, that's the primary bronchus. And same goes with this, primary bronchus. Okay. So, I'm going to get this. Let me slice away a little. There's a lot of fat around this. Okay. Alright. So we have this structure, and that is what structure? Left primary bronchus or primary bronchus. Alright, now there's other vessels that we can identify. Remember from the blood vessels lecture, what has a thicker tunica media, the veins or arteries?
Arteries.
Arteries, okay. So even in this lung, you can see that the arteries hold its own structure because it has a thicker tunica media, right? So we find here what vessel? At the orange.
Pulmonary artery.
Good. Pulmonary artery. So don't forget the pulmonary part because you want to be as specific as you can. We're looking at the pulmonary artery. All right, and then right here, do you see this vessel? It's a lot thinner.
Oh, I see it.
And it kind of collapses on itself. if you don't hold it up. So what vessel is that? Pulmonary vein. Good. Good. Okay, so here's a trick. How do you know superior and inferior?
Where the trachea is at.
Well, I mean, now the trachea is gone. But yeah, so where the trachea was, or
The artery is superior.
So the pulmonary artery will be superior to the primary bronchus. And then the pulmonary vein usually is inferior to the primary bronchus. Okay? Good. I can leave those. No, I'll take them out for now. All right. So how do we know right versus left?
The lobes of the lobes.
Lobes. Okay, so the right has how many lobes? Three lobes. So here's one. Don't worry about these. Here's one, here's two, and here's three. Okay, so this is how we would ask. What lobe is that?
Right upper lobe.
Right upper lobe. Okay, so be sure you specify right versus left, and it's the upper, because if you compare it to the primary bronchus, you will see that the pulmonary artery should be above, right? So that means that this is upper. Now, this chunk right here, what lobe is that?
Right middle lobe.
Right middle lobe, good. And what lobe is that? Right lower lobe, good. So on this side, we have two lobes then. What lobe is this?
Left upper lobe.
Left upper lobe, and what lobe is that? Left lower lobe, good. So even if we take one lung away from the rest of them, you should be able to identify if it's left or right, what lobe it is, and all the structures on it. Okay? And the reason why I told you to just leave your gloves on is because if you guys feel the lungs, remember yesterday I told you the lungs are like a sponge, right? So we're going to have a lot of residual volume. It's going to hold a lot of air. So if you feel it, it's really spongy and Tempur-Pedic bed-like. So I think it's the softest thing that we'll see. So if you guys want, put on a glove and feel the lungs. They're pretty cool. Yeah, spongy. And then remember I said also that the trachea has what type of tissue?
Pseudostratified, ciliated, columnar epithelial.
Pseudostratified ciliated columnar ET, or epithelium. Right? So if you feel the inside of the trachea and you just kind of push against it, it feels really velvety. So if you guys want, you can do that. Because you can feel the cilia.
Is this so we can see the hills on there?
No, don't worry about identifying the hilus. Just know it by definition.
Okay, that's what it says in the study guide here, though.
Yeah,
Okay.
it says it, but we should take that. What was that?
I'm just looking at everything else we're supposed
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Oh,
Stuff with the
that's
asterisk.
pretty easy then.
Yeah. It's pretty good. As long as you know the orientation, then it's really easy.
We can dissect it, but it's only go over that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So we have hearts. Also, if you want to dissect, I have more. Okay. And I'll leave this out for you guys.
Is it cool if I just dissect it right here?
Yeah.